To make our spicy grilled cheese, we'll need some bread. We're using oil instead of butter or margarine. We have a variety of cheeses to experiment with and a host of spices to experiment with a variety of flavor combinations. So we're going to make what I refer to as fancy grilled cheese. Fancy grilled cheese is not so much about the cheese itself, but it is about experimenting with spices. So we're going to take 2 pieces of bread, and I do have some different cheeses we can experiment with as well. I've put a tablespoon of oil into each of these custard cups, and each combination of spices is going to get a new custard cup. So we're going to put at least 3 spices in each combination, and we'll try different combinations of spices with different combinations of cheeses and see if we can't find something that is pretty good. And like I said, this is all about spices and kind of experimenting with what the spices taste like, how they combine, and what flavors you might be able to achieve or copy into a new form. So for our first experiment, we're gonna make kind of a mozzarella cheese stick flavor. And you have to be careful about how much you add in the way of spices. This is a little more likely to burn. You don't want to overwhelm the flavor with too much of a spice, but so this one I'm gonna try garlic powder, onion powder, just a tad of onion powder, and then I'm gonna add some very typical Italian spices, some basil and oregano. So really, if you want to try this is just kind of about opening up your cabinet, seeing what you have there for spices, and giving something a try. If you're not sure how much you like something, I would suggest maybe trying half sandwiches at first, and then you won't have wasted as much if you didn't care for a combination. So this is just a tablespoon of canola oil, just a bland. I'm not getting any flavor from the oil. So I don't want to use anything like olive oil. So this is just canola oil and spices. Pastry brush to get it onto the bread. And then we'll put that oil side down. Put this on a medium heat. I keep it over to the side. I might be able to get 2 in here at once. A couple pieces of provolone cheese. Mozzarella would be good with this combination too. We're going to turn that, like I said, on a medium heat. And once the cheese has started to melt, we'll flip it and go to the next one. So let's try another combination. We're going to get a fresh custard cup of oil. And for this one, let's use American cheese. And we're gonna go with parsley. And some sage. Notice I'm doing all of these out of the sprinkle area of their container because I don't want to get too much at once. Some rosemary. This one, rosemary is kind of big. So rosemary benefits, it's kind of leafy. So we're going to take and we're going to crush it as we put it into our recipe. We get more flavor out of it that way. So there's my rosemary, and one more thing, I'm going to add some thyme. So this combination is parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And again, we're going to take a pastry brush, Kind of stir those spices around in the oil. And coat our sandwich with that spice combination. A little bit more here. Okay, so we'll put this one oil side down. American cheese with our parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme. And now we can come up with another combination. For our next combination of spices, kind of thinking I want to get to a taco-ish combination. So I'm going to start with cumin. And I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder, a smidge of onion powder. Want to add some coriander. And a good way to kind of decide if you want to try these, if you're not familiar with spices, is smell them a little. Some white pepper and some red pepper. And we're going to try this on Colby Jack. So I've got my pastry brush. Go ahead and brush this oil spice mixture on my bread. Now, one thing I will tell you about spices, if you have red spices, like my cayenne pepper that I have in this one, I always keep those in the fridge because it helps them to stay fresh longer. So I'm going to put my oil side down, my Colby Jack, and oil side up. And then for our last combination, I'm going to start with dill. It's one of my favorite spices, and it's usually complemented very well with garlic and onion powder. And then just to kind of kick it up a little notch, I'm going to add some white pepper. So get my pastry brush. And then I think I'm going to do this with just American cheese. Get that all over the bread. And then we'll put this oil side down. 2 pieces of American cheese, oil side up. Here we have several styles of fancy grilled cheese amongst a world of spices to explore.